Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You're welcome to another episode of Better Music. Better Music, Better You. Remember, it's been a while. I've not been around. I had some family things to attend to. That's why I've not been around for like 3 weeks. Yeah, sorry about that. And then I'm glad some people reached out to ask, what's happening in Better Music? We've not heard anything from you. Yes, Better Music is back. It's great and it's good to go. So this week I'll be talking about equalization. Equalization, popularly known as EQ. What do you know about EQ? Well, a quick introduction will be that, when you listen to a car stereo and then you see your car stereo has this treble and then it has this bass knob, the two of them, they're usually popular in car stereos, And then if you are driving and then you're listening to that song you love so much on air, and you just notice for some reason it's not heavy, it's not giving you that, the power. And then you reach out to the bass knob, you increase it. Well done, engineer, you're doing well. That's it. You're EQing what's popularly known as equalization. And then if you find out that, no, it's not bright enough, and then you reach out to your treble, and then you turn the treble knob up. Super. Engineer, you're a sound engineer already. You're EQing, which is proper thing to do, So this week we'll be talking a bit details in that, and then maybe next week I'll be talking about how to properly use, or let's say I'll be talking about EQing vocals or something, something to just, let's skip it. But this week we'll be talking about those knobs, those parameters, what they do, what people don't know, what you will like to know about them. So EQing is the process of adjusting the balance of frequency components within an electrical signal. Big English, remember what I said. Treble up, treble down. Bass up, bass down. You're EQing, and pretty much like that. And a bit of history. Do I want to talk about this? Yes, okay, let me do that. A bit of history. EQ started, and then also sound engineering started way back from when they used telegraph cables to send electric impulses through what was known as a Morse code, if I'm getting it right. Yeah, Morse code, yeah. So they usually send speech over long distances using wires, and then they realized that the volume of what they sent is usually low by the time it goes from point A to point B. So what did they do? They invented amplifiers. Amplifiers to do what? To amplify the sound. So that it's minus 6 dB at the origin, and then when it gets to point B, it's still minus 6 dB volume-wise. But also they now noticed that some other things started happening, like loss in frequency. Maybe it was heavy. By the time you get there, it was loud, but it was very thin. So they designed amplifiers that are frequency specific. You find them more in broadcasting and telecommunication. That's the first occurrence of EQing. So they designed these amplifiers. They amplify the sound, but they were frequency specific. At the beginning, what they were trying to achieve was what is popularly known as a flat response. Yes. So in order for them to get the flat response, they designed these amplifiers. These amplifiers that are frequency specific, guess what? They try to balance the frequency for the places that it was lacking, and then they put it back, they increase it back. Pretty much that's, I think, the history of equalization. Also, let me see, another thing you need to know actually is frequency. Frequency, you've heard a lot about frequency, but what is frequency? Frequency actually means how many cycles a body vibrates in 1 second. A good example of frequency will be your last string on a guitar. I think it vibrates at about 82 times in a second. So in a second, it's gone up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, in 1 second. You may need to also know that human beings can only hear between 20 hertz, hertz being the unit for measuring frequency, by a German scientist. I've forgotten his name, but he's got hertz somewhere in his name. So, hertz, 20 hertz, and then 20,000 hertz. So you hear 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So 20 kilohertz, 20,000 hertz. 20 hertz, that's the range to which human beings hear. And also, as we grow older, that high frequency thing tends to just drop. Maybe by 30, 35, you're only hearing like 16 hertz. Everything higher than that, you really don't hear. It doesn't mean you can't be a sound engineer at old age. Yes, you function fine. It's just that you start to, the high frequency drops with age. It's good to have a young star around you, to help you do stuff in the studio and listen. Too bright, not too bright. But there are a lot of ways to go around it. And also, sounds lower than 20 hertz, it's normally felt by human beings. We really don't hear them. Elephants can hear pretty much lower than that, and even hear subsonic frequencies. Dogs, on the other side, can hear as high as 50,000 hertz. Yes, 50 kilohertz. Dogs can really hear that high. You ever seen a dog whistle before? You blow it, but nothing comes out of it. But guess what? When they blow it, the dogs actually hear that much frequency. I wish I was, no, not I wish I was a dog. I wish I've got that kind of, super hearing. Yeah. Dogs are really amazing animals. Yes, I think that will be so much you need to know for now. Okay, let's talk about types of EQ. Yes, we've got passive, we've got active, we've got graphic, we've got parametric, and every mixing console has an EQ built in it, and every DAW also has an EQ built in it. Those are the things you need to know for now. Catch you soon in the second part. All right, you're welcome back. This is Better Music by Kaystrings, sponsored by Grace Hill Recording. Follow me, it's somewhere down here, for more information about Better Music. You want to get better at what you do. You're a sound engineer, you're a vocalist, you're an FOH guy, whether you're aspiring, you're pro, we've got a lot of stuff for you. Today we're talking about equalization, and pretty much about equalization. I've spoken in the first part. This part, I want to take you back to the previous week when we talked about microphones. One of the most important thing for you as a sound engineer is that you use the right microphone, and guess what? You place them at the right position. If you have those two done, you're on your way to perfection in sound engineering. Trust me, that's the basic of everything. Whether you're sampling, whether you're recording, whether you're capturing, whatever it is you're doing, that is the right thing first. If you get all of that, guess what? You're on your way to perfection. But in most cases, it's not always so. You probably did not record it. It was sent to you to mix and master. And then guess what? Players are different. Instruments are different, So you may not have all of the luxury of capturing it the way it's supposed to be. Now, who is to the rescue? EQ is to the rescue. That's where EQ comes, where it cuts and boosts frequency, and then also you use it to create, beautiful, even things better than what was recorded. That's pretty much what EQ does. And guess what? Every EQ these days, be it from the one from your DAW or be it the ones, the external one, the hardware, they give you pretty much the same thing. They do the same job. They get the job done. They adjust frequencies. That's what they do. Some add a bit of color from hardware, components, capacitors, circuits, and all of that. But guess what? Every EQ is meant to adjust frequencies. The basic thing they need to do is to adjust frequencies, and then that they get done most of the time. So, what are EQs for? EQs are used to fix problem, to make the mix better. So we could group them into 3 or 4. We could group them into 3. One is corrective use of EQ. The second will be a creative use of EQ. And then the third will be to blend things together. Corrective, like I said, you are sent a material is sent to you, and this material isn't. You find out that maybe it's bass lacking, or it's treble lacking, or the mid frequency is just stripped out, or whatever it is. You find a way to fix that. Or a classic example will be a snare drum. Let me use a snare drum as an example. A snare drum most of the time has this. They're problematic. They resonate a lot. They ring a lot. And this ring, first, if you are the producer, my suggestion to you is that you try to fix that by tuning your drum properly. A lot of drummers just want to play and just play away. But guess what? No matter how fantastic you play, it's not going to sound well in the recording. It's going to sound pretty bad because you've messed up that song. So first things first, tune your drums. After tuning your drum, make sure the microphones are properly positioned and you're using the right microphone. You won't be using a microphone that peaks from, whose frequency response will be that it peaks from 200 upwards to record a kick drum. If you use that to record a kick drum, meaning all of the 200 down to 20 hertz, where the sweet spot of the kick drum is supposed to be, the heaviness or the thumpiness of the kick drum is supposed to be, won't be there. So we have to make sure that our drums are properly tuned, one. Secondly, we're using the right microphones to record. Two, the microphones are properly placed. Three, if we have all of that done, I know of a producer, I'll remember his name pretty soon, or I'll try to get his name for you guys maybe as time goes on. He doesn't use EQ at all. He positions microphones to get his EQ right, to blend, to make the song, his whatever instrument brighter or duller or whatever he has to do with it. So back to the drums, tune, right microphone, placed in the right position, but all of this don't always happen. Like I said, you're not the drummer, you just have the material, or it has been recorded and they can't re-record. So what do? The EQ, the equalizer, is what comes to correct what has been done. A second one might be probably a microphone that was placed wrongly on the cabinet. It is your job as an engineer to EQ the guitar back to life. A creative, that's for corrective. And then for creative use will be that, imagine a live recording and you're seated in a proper live recording setting. You as an FOH guy, or you are the mixing engineer, you heard this beautiful sound. It's amazing. Wow, they've set up everything and everyone is playing together. Fantastic. But guess what? You enter the control room and you're hearing this horrible, horrible sound. Well, not so horrible. It is your job to fix it. It will be good if you can get that lovely sound you're hearing in the live performance during your mix. But guess what? It will be better if what you bring out in your mix, it's even way much better than what you heard during the live performance or during the live recording. You get. So also it is the same thing for you as an FOH guy. Say, for example, the floor monitors, what you're hearing from the floor monitors and your side fill, yes, they are good, but they are not as good as what the house is enjoying, the church is enjoying, the auditorium is enjoying. It is your own job to make that even better. And then you won't do all of this without the use of an equalizer. That is where equalizer is very, very important. And then the third one, which I said will be for blending stuff, people have different tones of voices. Some people have the slappy, hi, my name is Kayode, and then, they have this kind of voice. And then some people have warmth around their voices. My name is Kayode, my name is Kayode. A lot of people have different tone, different this. You use EQ to blend them so that they sound all not the same, but so that they sound smooth and then they sound pleasing to the ears, The same thing also goes with voices and instrument altogether. It is the work of the EQ. So EQ can be said to be one of the most important tool in sound engineering, because without EQ, we can't balance frequencies. Without EQ, we don't have that flat response that we need. EQ also is used in correcting rooms. That's a bit advanced. It's used in correcting rooms, yes. Most times our rooms are not properly treated by professionals, but for you to treat a room properly, you need an equalizer. It's also used in correcting rooms, broadcasting stations, their rooms, control rooms. They use EQs to tune their rooms. Okay, catch you later. Some more tips. Equalization. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome back to Better Music, and today we're talking about equalization EQ, adjusting frequency bands. Let me first shock you by saying that there are no rules to equalization. Contrary to what you believe or what you've read, it's good to read. Please read as much materials as you can get. Read everything you can. Contrary to what you've heard that says add 50 hertz to give you thumpiness, add 7,000 hertz to add a bit of air, add between 2 and 2,000 hertz or 5,000 hertz to give you attack, on your material. The truth about this is that most of the time, they don't know the source material you're dealing with. If someone records a drum and send you, let me use a kick as an example. And like I said before, if someone recorded a kick drum with a microphone whose frequency response ends at 300 hertz, what I mean is the microphone is not going to capture anything between 300 hertz back to 20 hertz. Guess what? No matter how much 50 hertz you turn on your EQ, get the best of EQ and turn 50 hertz. You only inject noise and artifacts inside your sound. Probably the hum, that's what you're injecting into it. So there are really no rules per se. There are general sayings, there are general focus, but that rule of thumb don't always work. Why? Every player is different. Guess what? Every instrument responds differently. If I was to use a Taylor guitar to record and I say, make sure you cut every 100 hertz below for an acoustic guitar. Guess what? If I was using a Taylor guitar or a Martin's guitar, they're quite smaller and they're bright, and I cut it at that place, I'll be cutting a lot of juice out of that guitar. Maybe it can work for a Gibson J45 because that's a heavy mahogany wood guitar, so it kind of resonates. The lower stuff, they can be a little bit too much sometimes, So it differs for every material. They don't know what you're dealing with. So first things first is that you need to know what you're dealing with. If you know what you have, your material, then you can now know how to use your EQ or how to EQ that material, which is very, very important. Also, I like to talk about harmonics. Harmonics, imagine that I did that should be an A below the middle C. When you give that note, when you check the frequency response of that, it's not straight 220 hertz, which is supposed to be, I think, 220 hertz, 220 hertz pumping out. That note, on my frequency response curve will have not just that 220. It's going to have 220 and it's going to have a little bit of that will be 440, and then it's going to still have slightly a little bit of 660. So on 220 hertz, it will be dominant. You see quite a lot of it. On 440, you see slightly, maybe not as high as the one on 220. And then also to 660, it won't be that high. But what I'm trying to say is that when you give a fundamental frequency, like me giving that note, which I think it should be, I don't know, A below the middle C, most of the time will not just have that 220 hertz. It's going to have other components, other harmonics or overtones. So while EQing or in the process of during your equalization, you'll find out that when you take out the overtones and the other harmonics of a sound, you remove what they call timbre. You remove the quality. You start to downgrade the quality of the sound. A good example would be a bass guitar bass note. In a bass note, it doesn't have all of just that low between 150 and 220 or 200 hertz. Guess what? It still has small components somewhere around up to 2,000, 3,000. So fundamental frequencies most of the time will have harmonics or overtones, which you need to be very, very careful with while working with them. You need to be very, very careful addressing them while working with an equalizer or while EQing your source material. So I'll see you guys later where we'll talk about types of EQ, and then we'll talk about controls of an EQ, the parameters, what they do, and then what they don't do. See ya.